Welcome to the Magnetic Marketing Podcast. Today we get to learn about ESP, and no, not that kind of ESP. We're not talking about extrasensory perception where you can make things levitate with your mind or you can read other people's minds. This is about exceptional selling power. In this episode, you might learn that the two might be perceived as very, very similar. In this episode, Dave Dee is going to be jumping into three aspects to exceptional selling power. First, the mental attitude you need to have in order to succeed. Number two, cold reading techniques, which is a series of techniques that give you the illusion of psychic ability. And number three, we're going to talk about hypnotic language patterns. Now, when used appropriately, all of these tools help you increase your sales, and when used ethically, they help change the world. Let's jump in and listen to Dave Dee on how to develop your ESP, or exceptional selling power.
I don't think there's anybody that has had a bigger impact in the field of direct response than Dan Kennedy.
The legend of Dan Kennedy should be ignored at your own peril.
They're not really lessons, they're kind of laws that you live by.
Dan opened my eyes to what small business marketing looks like.
Dan teaches strategic direct response that is timeless.
His ripple effect touches people who don't even know his name.
The world as we know it was changed because Dan Kennedy became obsessed with marketing.
Welcome to the Magnetic Marketing Podcast with your host, Dan Kennedy.
Dave has been with Dan Kennedy for over 10 years and has been invited to speak at numerous seminars and conferences. So get ready to be on the edge of your seats and learn a lot. So let's give him an enthusiastic welcome, Dave Dee.
Okay, I guess we answered that. I was going to walk out amongst you, but I can't. All right, by a show of hands, how many people believe in ESP? Okay, how many people can at least spell ESP? All right. But today what we're going to do is I'm going to teach you how to unleash your ESP. And ESP stands for Exceptional Selling Power. In the next 57 minutes, I'm going to teach you a 1, 2, 3 step-by-step strategy that will double your sales, make selling a hell of a lot more fun, and give you an unfair advantage over the competition. Does that sound good? Say yes? No, come on now, with some enthusiasm, say yes! All right, very good. Guys, I know it's late, but we're going to have a lot of fun here. Now, I know that there's been two other speakers talking about persuasion and influence. Both of them are fantastic. But what I'm going to share with you is stuff that you've never heard before. And it is going to, like I said, really increase the amount of money that you put in your pocket. That's what this is all about. There's going to be no theory about what we're talking about. At the very end of my presentation, I'm going to share with you my secret weapon. And my secret weapon will help you triple the effectiveness of every sales presentation you do. I guarantee you've never heard it anywhere before, so you'll want to stay until the very end because it's going to knock your socks off. And if you're not wearing socks, it could be painful. All right, so we're going to have a lot of fun. Now, I know I made some bold claims, but they're absolutely true. You will make more money by listening to this presentation. So you guys ready? Say yes? Okay, fantastic. Now the question is, why should you listen to me? Why should you listen to me? I'm going to get to that in a minute, but the first thing I need to tell you is that this is definitely not politically correct. All right, so, in today's society, there's books called non-manipulative selling, right? Think about this for a minute. Non-manipulative selling. All right? And there's all talk about the soft sell and the consultant sell and all this other kind of stuff. But here's the reality. Sales is about persuasion, influence, and manipulation. That's the truth that no one wants to talk about today. But that's what it's about. Now, however, a lot of people don't want me teaching the stuff that I'm going to be teaching here today. Why? Because it's too powerful. People say, well, some of the stuff that you're teaching can really be used against someone, so they will do stuff against their will. And that's absolutely true. The stuff that you're going to learn here today is that powerful. However, any professional salesperson, any professional business person knows that if you coerce someone to do something that is against their will, are you going to get any more sales from that? No, right? You're not going to get any referrals. That's going to be a one-time deal. So, again, be very careful with what I'm going to share with you. Now, there are a number of different types of sales trainers. I'm going to talk about two of them. The first is the sales psychologist. This is the guy who is probably, a school teacher or something like that, a professor or something like that, and he writes books about the theory of selling, right? But this guy has never been belly to belly with a prospect, never have to overcome any objections. It's all theory. All right? I hate that kind of stuff. I hate theory. I like things that work and that make me money. If you guys do, say aye. With some more enthusiasm, aye. Very good. The next type of person is the active sales trainer. This is somebody who has a real business. All right? He deals with prospects and problems and customers and clients every single day. And that's me. I don't do this for a living. All right? I'm not a professional speaker. I do this very, very rarely. Bill asked me to do it, so I came here and do it. I run a real business. I run a marketing and sales company and have some very successful online businesses as well. When I got out of college, I got a job at radio advertising. And my training consisted of the sales manager, this is no joke, literally slapping me on the back and saying, go out there and get him, killer. That was literally my entire sales training. And then one of the first sales trainers I went to see was Tommy Hopkins. How many people saw Tom last night? Great, right? Fantastic, yeah. I saw Tom, and what was really neat is when I saw him, I wrote him a thank you letter, because he talked about thank you letters, correct? So I wrote Tom a thank you letter, and the guy's the real deal, by the way. He sent me a thank you letter for my thank you letter. And it was a personalized letter. It wasn't a form letter. And he said, I know you're going to be successful. I can't wait to hear of your success. Because I told him I wanted to be a speaker like he was. A couple of years ago, what was really neat is I was invited to speak at a seminar. And the two speakers beside myself were Nito, and guess who else? Tom Hopkins. Right. And I still had that letter that he that he sent me. Many, many, many years ago. It was probably 20 years ago. And I brought it to him, and he was so generous, you can make your dreams come true, too. So it was really neat that I was on the same platform as Tom. So, again, active sales trainer. After I got out of radio advertising sales, I opened up some magic shops, because I was a magician. So I opened up magic shops, carts in the mall. Now, you want to talk about a hard sell? Think about this. Stopping women as they walk through the mall with magic tricks, then trying to get them to buy them. Very difficult sell. And then I bought a karate school, and I'm the one who did all the closing for the karate school. And then I opened up an entertainment company where we sold high-end corporate events. So I've sold tangibles, intangibles. This stuff works no matter what you're selling. What we're going to go over today will work for you. Okay. Now here's the thing. The problem with a lot of old-time sales trainers is that they're teaching you things that no longer work in the real world. Now maybe they worked in the 1950s, but times have changed. People are different. People are extremely busy today. All right? With the advent of cell phones, email, text messaging, all this technology which was supposed to give us more time. How many people have more time now than with all the tech? Nobody. Okay, right, exactly. So people are busier than ever before. The next thing is there's a commercial message onslaught. A recent study said that when someone wakes up in the morning to the time they go to bed, they are hit on average with 4,000 commercial messages. 4,000. Next, people are very skeptical. They don't believe anyone anymore. Right? They've been lied to by politicians. They've been lied to by the clergy. They've been lied to by everybody, so they're very skeptical. We need a system that breaks through all this clutter. And that's what you're going to learn today in this presentation. Okay? There's three parts that we're going to go over. The first part, I'm going to go over all three very quickly, then we're going to go into each in detail. The first is your mindset. If your mind isn't correct, if you don't have your head screwed on straight, if you don't have the proper beliefs of a sales superstar ingrained in your subconscious mind, you will not be successful. We're going to go over how actually you do that. The next thing is something called cold reading. Cold reading is a technique. I'm going to explain what it is, but with cold reading, you can meet somebody and have them instantly think that you know everything about their life and about them personally. Do you think that would be powerful? Say yes. I'm going to teach you cold reading today. And the next thing is hypnotic language patterns. Hypnotic language patterns is language that bypasses conscious thought. All right? And this is where it gets kind of, a lot of people don't want me to teach that stuff. Okay? Because it really bypasses their conscious thought, goes into their subconscious mind, and helps you to influence them. So those are the three things that we're going to talk about today. The first thing is mental, your set of beliefs. How many of you believe that you sell a good product or service? Raise your hand. Okay, you don't, sir. Very nice. Okay. Keep your hands up. So you believe you sell a good product or service, right? All right. How many people that you believe that you are the best person to help your customer or your client get that product or service? Raise your hand. Good. Put your hands down. All right. Then let me ask you this. If you truly believe that you offer the best product or service, and that you are the best person to sell that product or service to your customer, to your prospect, then I believe that you have a moral obligation to do everything you can to make that sale. I was speaking before a group of dentists, and they were like, moral obligation? I said, certainly. I mean, if you don't do everything you can to make that sale, the dentist closes the case, that person leaves, gets gum disease, moral obligation. If you've got a business opportunity product that can really turn somebody's life around, and you don't do everything you possibly can to make that sale, if you don't really believe that you must make the sale, you are hurting that person. You're missing out on their opportunity. What you need to do every single day is you need to associate every single day to what you actually do. What do you do? And it's not selling the widget. Bill's not selling information. Bill Glazer and Dan Kennedy, they're not just selling information. They're not selling books. They're selling success. They're selling a dream. They're selling prosperity. What are you selling? What do you really do for people? And if you think about that, what do I really do? That is going to motivate you. That's going to get you excited. That's going to give you the passion to sell and to sell hard. You must sell hard. You must close a sale. That's the belief of a sales superstar. I offer the best product or service, and I'm the best person to help my customer or my client. Therefore, I have the obligation to sell them. The next thing is mental rehearsal. This is a simple technique. This technique will take 3 minutes. 3 minutes. If you just do this one thing, this whole weekend will be worth it, your entire investment. You must mentally rehearse your presentation before you give it every single time. What do? Now you create, we don't have time to get into in great detail, but you create a movie in your mind of you going through the presentation, overcome the objections smoothly, see yourself closing the sale. Let me ask you, do you think baseball players do that? Do you think athletes do that before somebody gets up to bat and to face a pitcher throwing a 95-mile-an-hour fastball at them? They visualize. They think of their success. They think about what they want to do. And you have to do the same thing. If you do this one thing and you run that movie over and over and over in your mind, when you get into the actual sales situation, it'll be like you've been there before. Trust me on this one. It sounds simple. It sounds easy. But if you do this, it will dramatically increase your closing percentage. You will walk in there with confidence. And what you believe, what's in your head, has a direct impact on the persuasion process. In fact, what you believe and what you're feeling is more of a determinant of whether you're going to influence your prospect or influence your client than actually what you say. Because they're going to pick up on whether you're confident, whether you're afraid, whether you believe in your product, whether you don't. So mental rehearsal. Now, your mental, emotional, and physical states are all tied together. They are all tied together. So the body controls the mind, and the mind controls the body. So if you program your mind with the beliefs of a sales superstar, and there are specific beliefs that all sales superstars, the really big earners, have a set of beliefs. Now, everyone has different beliefs, but there's a certain set core beliefs that they have that they believe. I've given you a couple of them. That they have them programmed, they have them hardwired into their subconscious mind. And that helps them sell more. But let me give you an example of what I mean. The body controls the mind, and the mind controls the body. What I want everyone to do, and this won't be very hard for you, I want everyone to sit in your chair. Put your pens down. I want everyone to sit in your chair like you're really tired. Like if you were really tired, like it would be a big stretch for you, I know. All right? Sit like you're really tired, really slumped down. How would you sit if you were really tired? How would you be breathing? Okay, really just like that, okay? Now, when I snap my fingers, I want you to be totally energized again. Okay, so when I snap my fingers, I want you to be totally energized. Now, totally energized. Sit up. Breathe. Okay, come on. Okay, now, tired. Really tired. Come on. Really do it. Get really tired. How's your breathing? Is your breathing shallow? Okay. Now, when I clap my hands, I want you to be totally energized. Totally energized. Come on, up. Breathe. No more than that. Okay, go totally tired again. Totally tired. Okay. Now, when I clap my hands, I want you to just be all the energy that you can muster up. Ready? Now, up, come, here we go. Breathe. Okay, now what did you do to change that? Who notices a difference? Okay? Do you notice a difference in how you feel? Just by using your body. Okay, so you can change your mental state by changing your body. The body controls the mind controls the body. Let's do another little experiment here. Let me get it back up here so I don't blow your eardrums out. Okay, everyone, take your hands, interlace your fingers like this. Okay, this is going to stretch, arms stretched out as far as you can in front of you, like you're trying to reach me up here. Okay, now extend your index fingers and keep them together. Arms stretched out as far as you can. Thumbs crossed over on the top. Really stretch them out far. Hold those hands together tight. Now shut your eyes. Now separate your fingers about 1.5 inches apart. Now imagine that there's a magnetic field pulling your fingers together. You're pulling your fingers together. Use your imagination, the magnetic field pulling your fingers together tighter and tighter and tighter. The harder you try to keep them apart, the tighter they go together. Keep your fingers, the magnetic, pulling them together, Open your eyes, look at your fingers. The body controls the mind controls the body. What you believe has a direct impact on how you perform. Program your mind with the beliefs of a sales superstar, you will become a sales superstar. All right. The next thing we're going to talk about, let's just say for the sake of conversation, that you have programmed the beliefs of a sales superstar into your brain. Right? You're visualizing before you do your presentation. You're confident, you know what you're going to do. The next part of this is to develop rapport. Rapport. This is a key strategy that we're going to go over. Scientific studies have shown that 80%, right? This is amazing. Write this down. 80% of all sales are based on the customer liking and trusting the salesperson. Think of what I just said. 80% of all sales are based on the customer liking and trusting the salesperson. Not based on who has the best product. Not based on who has the best price. But rather based on the customer, whether they like the salesperson or not. So how does that happen? Well, the first thing is people who are like each other tend to like each other. Write that down. People who are like each other tend to like each other. Conversely, people who are not like each other tend not to like each other. That's exactly right. The friendship factor. People tend to want to buy from friends. The next thing is the trust factor. When you have rapport with someone, they trust you, they like you. And I'm going to teach you how to develop rapport in less than 4 minutes with anybody you meet anywhere. Okay? How to develop rapport. The first thing is sincerity. This is number one on the thing. You've got to be sincere. That's an obvious one. The reason I asked you if you thought you sold the best product or service, well, if you don't, then you've got to get out of what you're doing because you'll never be massively successful at it. So you've got to be sincere. That's number one. The other way, the most common way people try to find rapport is through common interest, right? You try to find something you have in common with the other person. That works really well. But there are times where you may not have a common interest with the person. Then it becomes more difficult. So what do? Well, there's a technique called matching and mirroring. Matching and mirroring, when people are naturally in rapport, they often are sitting the same way. They're often breathing the same way. And if you go out to a restaurant and you look at a couple on a date, you can tell, right, just by looking at them whether they're into each other or not. They may have their arms crossed the same way. They may have their legs crossed the same way. My wife and I mean, we'll be laying in bed or something, and we'll have our arms in this really weird position at the same time, the exact same position. Why? Because it happens unconsciously. But here's what's exciting. You can take that knowledge that I just gave you and develop rapport with anyone like that by matching and mirroring, number one, their physiology. So if your prospect is sitting, all right, and they have their leg crossed, you cross your leg, all right? Because now you're mirroring what they're doing, all right? If they've got their arms crossed, and this is going to come into play later on, if they've got their arms crossed, which is a really bad position, by the way, right, as far as body language goes, and we're going to talk a little bit about body language later on, you want to sit with your arms crossed, all right? Because then what you can do, after you match and mirror them for a while, you can then do what's called pacing and leading. So physiology is one thing that you can match and mirror. Another thing is their breathing. What's so cool about the breathing is that they're not going to notice that you're doing it. Hey, someone's going to say, hey, man, you're matching my breathing. Cut the crap. Okay, no one's going to notice that. Now, when I teach matching and mirroring, I don't mean you copy everything that they do. All right, so if the guy's got a tick, don't do that. It's no good. All right, so their physiology, how they speak, how loud their voice is, how quickly they speak. This is a really big one. All right, I'm from Massachusetts. I've lived in the South now for 17 years. And when I first came here and I was first doing magic shows and presentations, you could probably know I talk really fast, right? Well, people would know what the hell I was saying in the South. All right, because they talk slower. So matching the speed at which someone speaks is important. Why? Because what does a Southerner think of the slick New Yorker? What? Right, fast talker, not trustworthy, right? What does a New Yorker think about the slow Southerner? Dumb, right, exactly right. Now, neither one of those is true. However, that's the belief. And even if they don't think that consciously, they are thinking it on a subconscious level. They are feeling it in their body. All right, so what if you got somebody who talks really soft? And you talk really loud! Right? You're going to turn them off. They may not know why. So the tonality of their voice, their physiology, those are different things that you can match and mirror. Now, there's more to it than that, but that's a good thing to get you started. And just try this. When you go out tonight, match and mirror somebody. Watch what happens. Because after you match and mirror them for a while, you can tell if you're in rapport, you can test if you're in rapport. If their arms are crossed like this, and you uncross your arms, they will uncross their arms too. Why? Because they want to maintain that rapport. They're not doing it consciously, you are. Try it. It's unbelievably amazing. Also, when you're out today, look at different people, and you'll see that they're sitting the same way. Their head's tilting the same way. They're making the same gestures. Okay, so matching and mirroring. The next thing is deep insights. If you meet somebody, and they have deep insights into your personality, and you get a feeling that they really know you. Have you ever met somebody like that? Like, you just met them, and it's like, I've known you for years. It seems like I've known you forever. Well, you can do that in the sales realm with a very strong technique that I'm going to teach you right now. And it's called cold reading. Cold reading. Now, as when Dave introduced me, he mentioned that I was a mind reader. And actually, I was a psychic entertainer. And who would like a psychic reading? Who would like a psychic? Would you like a psychic reading? Good, come on up. Let's give her a big round of applause. All right. All right. Hi, your name is? Nancy? That's correct. Come on up here, Nancy. Very talented, aren't I? Okay. Nancy, we've never met before, have we? Okay, now Nancy, what kind of reading would you like? Would you like a palm reading or any kind of an aura reading? What kind of reading would you like?
Whatever you want.
I like that. All right. All right. Here's what we're going to do. What we're going to do, I'm just going to tell you some things about yourself, Nancy. Let me just get your vibration here. Nancy, you seem to be a person who's always on the go, and that the more you have on your plate, the better. But there were times that you wish you didn't have so much to do. But if you stop doing things for a long time, you get bored very, very quickly. So you think you need that break, but then you want to keep doing something else. I also sense that you're a lifetime learner, that you like reading, and you like studying things. You like learning new things. And for that reason, you're never going to grow old. You're just going to keep growing. I'm also getting the impression that you don't take other people's opinions without satisfactory proof, that you have a little bit of a skeptical streak in you. But if you're given proof, then you believe. I also sense that some people in your life have a tendency to think that some of your goals and aspirations are unrealistic. But you believe that whatever the mind can conceive, that you can achieve. Now, how close was that?
Pretty good.
Was it pretty good? Would you say 80%? 80%? Okay. Let's give her a nice big round of applause. Thank you. Okay, go right back down here. Okay. I have no psychic ability whatsoever. Okay, I did something called cold reading. Here's what cold reading is. Cold reading is a series of techniques that give the illusion of psychic ability. I'm going to teach you how to put this in sales. I told you this is totally different than all the other guys. A series of techniques that gives the illusion of psychic ability. This is what palm readers use, numerologists use. You know the guy who talks to the dead on TV? You see this guy? This guy? Let me give you a clue. He ain't talking to the dead. Okay? He is a master cold reader. Now let me give you an example here of what I just did. Here's a cold reading example. Let's say that we are, notice what I just did with her, okay? Let's say you're a financial advisor. You would say to the prospect, Mr. Prospect, I sense that you pride yourself on being an independent thinker and don't take other people's opinions without satisfactory proof. Let's stop right there just for a second. What moron is going to say, no, I don't do that. Whatever anyone tells me, I just believe. I'm a real sucker, okay? So it is self-validating. But it appears that you're saying something profound to them. Now, you don't do it, you don't shut your eyes and hold their hand. That's not what I'm saying. All right, you just say it. All right, Mr. Prospect, I sense that you pride yourself on being an independent thinker and you don't accept other people's opinions without satisfactory proof. That's why I want you to prove to yourself. Key wording here, notice. Notice the difference. I'm not saying that's why I want to prove to you. That's why I want you to prove to yourself that this investment is vitally important to your short-term and long-term well-being. Now, it's at this point the prospect is going to say, yes, I am a person who is an independent thinker and doesn't accept other people's opinions without satisfactory proof. If he says that, and then you give him satisfactory proof, in order for him to stay congruent with what he just agreed to, he must believe what you're saying. Does that make sense? Okay, do you understand that? A very subtle, it seems very subtle, but there's a lot that goes into that little paragraph right there. All right? Now, the other thing that you can use cold reading for is eliciting someone's outcome. I don't know if you've ever been with a prospect before and they're not really that forthcoming, they don't really tell you what they want. Well, by using cold reading, you can elicit their outcome without them even knowing about it. When you go see a psychic, how many people have ever had a psychic reading for real? Raise your hand. Okay, cool. When you go see a psychic, what they do, one of the techniques and strategies that they do is that they elicit information from you, and then you don't even realize that you're giving them information, and then they feed that information back to you in the reading. And you don't remember that they got the information from you. Now, how powerful would that be in sales? Right? To be able to get that kind of information, would that be powerful? Say yes. You got to want to learn how to do that? Okay. What you need to do is you need to find out what their real wants, needs, and desires are. What their real wants, needs, and desires are. Remember that people buy what they want, not what they need. They buy what they want, not what they need, and then they justify it by saying that they need it. I just bought a very expensive car. Very expensive car. I don't need that car. First of all, I work out of my house. I don't go anywhere. All right, the car literally sits in the garage. So my justification was that I need the car in case I've got to go pick up a client at the airport. Now, I don't pick up any clients at the airport either, but I said, just in case I have to, I can't, So, all right. Here's a beautiful thing. You can extract information both verbally and non-verbally from your prospect. Okay? Here's some ways that you can do it. One is with a direct question. This is the weakest way to do it. All right, this is the way that most people do it too. So you say, Mrs. Smith, most people who come to see me usually have a question or concern about a particular area of their life. How about you? That's the way that some psychics start their reading. Let's translate that to sales. Salesperson, Mrs. Smith, when someone comes in with a legal problem, they usually have some questions or concerns that they want to talk about right away. How about you? Okay, a direct question. You ask them what is on their mind. Next is a minor close type of one. The psychic would say, I'm getting the impression and a clear image of you with children. You seem to have a special gift of relating well to both children and small animals. Does that sound right to you? Now, if the person says, what happens is, the psychic will then go in a completely different direction and negate what they just said. If the prospect says yes, the psychic keeps going down that same path. So here's how it translates to sales. The salesperson would say, I'm getting the impression that you're looking for the highest rate of return and the lowest risk possible. Does that sound right to you? If the prospect says yes, you follow that path. If not, you go in a different direction. All right? So the minor close. What you must do is you must get your prospect encourage them to cooperate with you. The more they talk, the better shape that you're in. Most people think that a really good salesperson is one who talks a lot. It's just the opposite. A really good salesperson is someone who listens a lot and asks the right questions to get the correct information to close the sale. So you must encourage cooperation. Oh, by the way, this is really fun. If you ever want to really screw up a psychic, okay, go for a reading and don't say anything. Just say, go. Whatever they ask you, just don't answer. All right? You'll totally screw up. They can't do it. Same thing in sales. All right, so here's how you encourage cooperation. Again, this looks simple, but it's very powerful. Mr. Patient, I've been helping people improve their health for over 15 years, and so obviously, remember that word, by the way, obviously. Write that word down. Write the word obviously down. We're going to talk about it in great detail later on. So obviously, I'm experienced. Still, I don't want to make any suggestions about the plan of action before finding out more about you. After that, we'll talk about what your need needs to be done and then go ahead. Does that make sense to you? If the prospect says, yes, that makes sense to me, what have they just agreed to? Give you the information that you're the expert, and to give you the information, answer the questions that you ask honestly. All right? Let's talk a little bit about nonverbal communication. One of the first things is called tells. How many people gamble? Oh, yeah, right, like 3 people. All right, I'm sorry. A really good poker player will watch another player and look for what are called tells. Little things, little unconscious things, little subconscious things that the other players are doing, which indicate whether they have a good hand or a bad hand. Right? These are things that you can't even, unless you know what you're looking for, you can't even tell what it is. But the real pros can do this. So there are certain tells that you look for. The next thing is body language. There's whole books written about body language, whole courses on body language. I think most of it's BS, especially for sales. All right? There's only really 5 things you need to know about body language. There's 5 positions that you need to know. Now, if you want to delve into it more, you can. But there's 5 things that you need to know whether the prospect is into what you're thinking. But this must also be tempered with, if you're reading someone's body language, it must also be tempered with everything else that's going on. What they're saying, the tonality in their voice. Because if the guy touches his nose, okay, well, in body language, that means that he's doesn't quite believe you. Or it could mean he has an itchy nose. All right? So you don't want to put too much credence, too much in the body language. The next thing are eye movements. The way a person's eye moves tells you how they're processing information in their brain. All right? So by watching their eye movements, you can tell whether they're telling you the truth or not, what mode of thinking they're in. We'll talk about modes of thinking in a minute because we have auditory, right? Some people hear things, some people see things visually, and kinesthetically, some people feel things. Right? By watching their eye movement, you can tell. Facial expressions, of course, and voice inflections. So those are all areas of nonverbal communication. Okay? Now we're going to get into the most exciting part of everything. Let's assume right now that you've mastered cold reading, that you've got the beliefs programmed in for success of a sales superstar. You're visualizing. You know how to get yourself amped up before your presentation. Hypnotic language is the most powerful thing that we're going to talk about. Hypnotic language bypasses conscious thought. This is why it is very manipulative and very powerful and dangerous. Because what you're really doing with this is you are really subliminally influencing your prospect. They have no idea what you're doing. Now, here's what's dangerous about this. With a lot of the sales techniques in books and as the old-time sales trainers teach, they are blatantly manipulative. The prospect knows that you are manipulating them. These are very manipulative, but the prospect has no idea that you're manipulating them. Because they are invisible. It sounds as if you were just talking. They are covert techniques and strategies. The first thing is preconditioning, the hypnotist model. If you ever go see a stage hypnotist, what they must do before the show even starts is precondition the audience to believe that the hypnotist can hypnotize people. Critically important. If they do not do that, they're going to have a miserable show. And I've seen it. And it's an ugly feeling when they bring up a bunch of people and no one gets hypnotized. Not pretty. All right? Because they didn't precondition their audience. Now, how does this relate to sales? You want to precondition your prospects to say yes. And here's how you do it, with what I call the yes ladder close. All right, let's take somebody's real business here. I'm going to come out here. If we get feedback, well, we get feedback. Okay, let's take somebody's real business here. Let's go over here. All right, hi, your name is?
Andrea.
Andrea, how are you?
I'm great.
Good. You having a good time?
Great.
We'll fix that. All right. Andrea, what business are you in?
Mary Kay Cosmetics.
Perfect. Mary Kay Cosmetics. All right. And let's say you're going over someone's house to sell some cosmetics. All right. And let's say you're coming over my house. All right. I'm going to be the Mary Kay salesman. Okay. And I'm coming over your house. It's 2:00. The appointment's at 2:00. All right. That's the only information I have, and that your name is Andrea. All right. So I'll come over to your house. I'll say, and you answer the door. You say hello.
Hello. Come on in.
Oh, great. My name's Dave. We had an appointment, okay, at 2:00. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And you're interested in Mary Kay Cosmetics, isn't that right?
Absolutely.
Right. Okay. It's a beautiful day outside, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Now, you notice what I'm doing? Yes. 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 Now, if I was to, you can sit down. Thank you very much. If I was to continue doing that, I would do it like 5 to 10 times. So, you must be Andrea. Yes. We had an appointment at 2. Yes. You're interested in Mary Kay Cosmetics. Yes. And on and on and on. Now, for those of you who have, this is one of the things I taught to a lot of doctors, the receptionist, the person out front can do this. And it gets them in a yes set frame of mind. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. So what are you preconditioning your prospect to say? Yes, that's exactly right. So the yes, so all you do is you write down 5 to 10 of these questions that people must answer yes to, that your prospect must answer yes to. Now here, again, they don't think that you're doing anything. It seems completely natural. It seems completely natural. But you're programming their mind. Now, is that the only thing that you need to do? Of course not. Of course not. But it is a step in the process. The next thing are positive affirmation statements. Positive affirmation statements, or PAS for short. I have 5 types of positive affirmation statements, and we're going to go over 2 of them here. These are designed to get to your prospect to agree with you both consciously and subconsciously. All right? There are 5 types. Like I said, we're going to go over 2. The standard one is what Tommy Hopkins talked about yesterday. This is a traditional one. This is where you add, aren't you, isn't it, doesn't she? Tom went over that, correct? Right? Yesterday, yes? Yes. Okay, good. See? Yes. All right. The key to this, we just go over there. Notice that they're not questions. They're statements. So, obviously, the security of your family is important to you, isn't it? It's not a question. I'm not saying the security of your family is important to you, isn't it? Okay, it's a statement, not a question. These are effective if you use them sparingly, very sparingly, major sparingly. Like, almost don't use them. All right? Why? Because they can be perceived as being very manipulative. One of the worst things that, and I just gave the example, the security of your family is important to you, isn't it? Come on, that's insulting. The prospect is not a moron. Your prospect is not a moron. Your prospect is your mother. Okay? Your prospect is not stupid. They know when you're trying to manipulate them. Do you want an appointment at 2 or at 3? All right? So let me give you something that's even more powerful. This is it. This is worth the price of admission. The LY positive affirmation statement. I guarantee you're going to say this was worth the price of admission. This forces subconscious agreement. The prospect has no choice but to agree with whatever you say, as long as it's reasonable. It's not insulting to the prospect. They don't even realize you're doing anything. The 2 words are naturally and obviously. Naturally and obviously. Let me give you an example. Obviously, Ms. Prospect, the security of your family is important to you. Naturally, you want to get the highest rate of return with the lowest risk possible. If you look around, people are nodding their head. When you say the word obviously or naturally, it is ingrained in our brains to nod yes. Because you're saying obviously. So the person's like, now here's what you can do. If you want to have some fun, say obviously or naturally, then say something ridiculous after it. And for a minute, the person will go, oh, wait a minute. Okay, so you can't say something totally obscene or ridiculous. And I've got guys going on trying this with their wives, if you know what I mean, I'm not kidding you, all right? So obviously or naturally. Do you see the power in that? Do you see the power in how simple that is? But here's the deal. They have no choice but to agree with you. They have no choice to agree with what you say. They must say yes in their mind. Most of them will say it out loud. Some won't. They'll just nod. Naturally, you want to get my product. Obviously, this is a great deal. Naturally and obviously. Use it. With the techniques that I teach in my Psychic Salesperson Toolkit, you can literally plant thoughts in people's minds. You can control their actions. And we're going to do a little experiment now. You can control their decisions just through the use of language. All through the use of language. Let's try a little experiment. This is a lot of fun. Okay, now if you participate in this for real, it'll be wild for you. Okay? Everyone put your pens down, put your feet flat on the floor, sit up straight. Okay, everyone sit up straight, fantastic. Take a deep breath in. Breathe it out with power. Good. Another deep breath in. Breathe it out with power. Okay, good, and relax. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to project a 2-digit number out to you, a 2-digit number between 1 and 50. Now, because you're probably new at this, I'm going to give you a couple hints. The first thing I can tell you is that both digits are odd, and they are both different. So, for example, 11 wouldn't work because both digits are the same, but 17 or 15 would work. Okay? So take a deep breath again. Okay? And when I clap my hands, I want you to think of a 2-digit number between 1 and 50. Both digits are odd. Both digits are different. When I clap my hands, think of it. Now, okay, how many people thought of the number 37? Raise your hand if you thought of the number 37. Good, look at that. Look at that, wild. Okay, let's try something even more difficult. Okay, feet flat on the floor again, feet flat on the floor. Okay, take a deep breath. Blow it out with energy. Fantastic. All right, now this time we're going to make it more difficult. We're going to do a 2-digit number between 50 and 100. This time, both digits will be even, and they'll be different. Okay? 50 and 100, both digits even and different. Take a deep breath. When I snap my fingers or clap my hands, think of that number. Now, how many people thought of the number 68? Raise your hand. Okay, now how many people thought of one or both of the numbers? One or both of the numbers. Look around the room. Look around the room. It's almost 100% of the room. Okay, put your hands down. You're not mind readers. Sorry. I didn't project the thought out to you. Just through the use of language, I forced you to think of those numbers. And you can do the same thing by planting thoughts in your prospect's mind. Now, let me tell you a little final closing story. I call this the account from hell. This is an absolutely 100% true story. When I first got into radio advertising sales, and I got that great motivational speech, go out there and get them, killer, my sales manager comes up with a folder, and he says, I'm going to talk like he did. Tom Hennessy was his name. Okay, Dave Dee. This is a big account. A big account. Don't screw it up. Okay? Really motivational, so I was really excited. I was a kid, right? So he gives me this account, and I'm looking through the folder, and I see that it was a pharmacy. Now, this pharmacy hadn't advertised on the radio station in literally 3 years. Big account, okay? And on top of that, when they advertised, they barely advertised. So I looked at who the account representative was before, and I went and I talked to her. And she said, oh, my God, this is the worst account ever. So now I'm really pumped up, okay, about this account. She says the two women who are the advertising buyers are the most mean, old-spirited women. They hate our radio station. They hate radio advertising, and they're going to hate you. Fantastic. Pumped. So now I'm already scared, right? Going on every sales call, making a cold call. And so I go to this pharmacy, and I am not kidding you, have to go down in the basement of this pharmacy. And this is no joke. It's dark, and the floors are creaky. And so I'm walking down there with my folder in my hand, going to see these women. And then behind this big desk are these two women. How many of you guys have seen the movie It's a Wonderful Life? Oh, yeah. It's a Wonderful Life? You know Mr. Potter? Okay, think of Mr. Potter times 2. Okay, that's what we're talking about here. So I'm Dave Dee from WHMP Radio, WIMP Radio, WHMP Radio, I'm not kidding. And they immediately say, we hate the music you play, radio advertising sucks, nobody listens to your station, and on and on and on. Now, at this time, I didn't know any of this stuff about developing rapport or anything like that. They're like, we're never going to advertise on your station. So, but here's what I did. It was the first time I ever did it. I pulled out my secret weapon. Hey, easy. My secret weapon was magic tricks. Remember, I was a magician. Now, I'm not talking about magic tricks like pulling a rabbit out of a hat. I'm talking about magic tricks that illustrate key benefits to what you are selling. So, for example, I asked to borrow a $1 bill from them. They handed me a $1 bill. I folded up the $100 bill as I talked about how investing in radio advertising would give them a huge return on their investment. When I unfolded the $1 bill, it was now a $100 bill. Major impact. Broke their pattern. They're like, how many salespeople that day do you think did that? Nobody. I then took the $100 bill and I crumpled it up. I put it on my hand. And I showed them by advertising on the radio, their investment would rise in value. And the $100 bill floated up off my hand, hovered in the air, and floated back down. Now they're laughing. Now they're giggling. Now they like me. Now they like me. Why? I was different than every other person pushing advertising on them every single day. Also, I broke their mental pattern. They had it in their head that they hate advertising, they hate all salespeople that come in. To make a long story short, they did buy advertising with me. And they became one of the station's top clients. Advertised every single week. And I went to see them every single week with a new trick. They became friends of mine, these two women. Well, the greatest thing was, though, seeing all these other radio advertising salespeople lined up waiting to see them. Oh, and I was in the back of the line. I'd say, tell them that Dave's here. Right in front of the line. Boom. Walk out with a contract, waving it to my competitors. Okay, I was kind of an ass, yeah, but still, I mean, you know. All right. But magic tricks can act as a visual aid in your presentations. There's nothing more powerful. It is an extremely powerful presentation tool. Again, I'm not talking about getting in a top hat and sequin tuxedo and pulling flowers out and scarves out. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about magic tricks that illustrate a key point. Magic tricks also develop rapport. You get people liking you, trusting you. Okay? They overcome objections. Now, imagine that you could do all this. Imagine that you could master these skills of subconscious influence and persuasion. Imagine that you could develop rapport with anyone in 4 minutes or less. Imagine that you could literally control a prospect's thoughts. And I've had a great time with you. I'll be in the back of the room to talk to you if you have any questions. Thank you guys very much. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Magnetic Marketing Podcast with Dan Kennedy. If you love hearing in on these lost Dan Kennedy talks and speeches and calls, then please let someone else know about this podcast. That's how you can help it to grow. And the more it grows, the more free Dan Kennedy we can bring to you. Also, Dan would love to give you the most incredible free gift ever, designed to help you make maximum money in minimum time. Now, this free gift comes with almost $20,000 in pure money-making information for free just for saying maybe. You can get this gift from Dan right now at nobsletter.com. Not only will you get the $20,000 gift, you're also going to get a subscription to 2 marketing newsletters that will be hand-delivered by the mailman to your mailbox each and every month. One from Dan Kennedy and one from me, Russell Brunson. To get this gift and your subscription, go to nobsletter.com right now.